Hey, we are not live with this interview. Just going to preface that, but we do have two very, very cool guests for us. They come from Whatboy Games, and they've got a brand new game called Trials of Fire. First of all, welcome Dax and Adam.
Sorry.
It is fantastic to have you both here, and thank you for joining us on EP. I hope you guys are both doing great.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us, Vic. And it's our fault that we ran out of time at E3, so thanks for making it up.
Oh, of course, man.
Thanks
This
for making the time.
I absolutely wanted to meet with you guys. You two are a small indie team now, but Dax, I know you from working at Rocksteady for many, many years, and so you split off and said you wanted to do your own thing. How did this all happen?
Yeah, I mean, I first met Adam when I joined Rocksteady just after Batman Arkham Asylum came out. So I joined the team to head up marketing, PR, community, everything like that at the Rocksteady team.
Yeah.
Adam was the lead gameplay coder on all of the Arkham games, from Arkham Asylum through to Arkham Knight. So
wow.
He and I worked together for like almost a decade. And last year, about a year ago, we set up Whatboy Games. And then last month, on the 7th of May, we released our debut title, Trials of Fire.
That's incredible. So, Adam, you've known Dax for more than 10 years at this point?
I think it's coming up to 10 years. Yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, I mean, as Dax said, I was lead gameplay programmer at Rocksteady. Left there about 18 months ago with the plan of kind of going off doing our own thing. And that's kind of where Whatboy came from. Me and Dax met up, had a couple of drinks, and I decided it was a good fit.
You guys did such incredible work as a collective over at Rocksteady, and you've got fans all over the world of the Batman Arkham games. Did it just feel right for you guys to I imagine the pressure to constantly deliver games at that scale must be a little nuts. And was it just a point of, like, you guys said, we need a change, we want to try something different, or you've got a different game idea that's not going to fly at Rocksteady? What sort of precipitated this idea to go off and start your own thing?
I think it's the sort of thing that every developer really dreams of when you're working in AAA, thinking about, like, you know, what could I do under my own steam? What could I do in collaboration with other developers that you know and that you trust? And
yeah.
For me, at the end of Batman Arkham Knight and then Arkham VR, which came out in 2016, the decision was made that as a studio, Rocksteady wasn't going to make any more Batman games. And I thought, look, this has been such an incredible experience, but if I'm ever going to leave the studio and pursue that dream of kind of working independently, it's only fair to do it between two big things. You know, if you get a year, 2 years into a new project and then decide to leave the studio, you're leaving a lot of people in the lurch. So I think it was the right time, both for me personally and in terms of honouring the relationships that I had within the team there at Rocksteady.
Yeah, Rocksteady, I've been there because we did the making of Arkham Asylum, and I know how special a company it is. So for you guys to both decide that you wanted to go off on your own, what was it about the concept of Trials by Fire? What was the idea that you guys said, look, we have to go and do this?
Well, I mean, it was actually it's an idea I've had for quite a while. I kind of wanted to go off, do something a bit different to Batman games. That was kind of one of my reasons for wanting to leave. Something I could have like complete creative control over as well. Sort of, as much as I love working with DC and the license, just being able to sort of create something entirely from scratch was a big draw for me. So this idea kind of really came from kind of my love for RPGs, for turn-based games, for tabletop games in general, and kind of a way that we can kind of make a game that really sort of takes that genre and sort of pushes it in ways that I kind of think it hasn't been pushed before. So really sort of focus on gameplay polish, sort of replayability, sort of quick gameplay, and that's kind of really where I came from. I mean, we left independently. We didn't kind of leave to sort of go off and do this together.
Oh, okay.
And then kind of we got in touch like couple of months after I left, and sort of Dax was looking to as well to do his own thing. As he said, he kind of headed up marketing and PR, I was kind of gameplay and design, so we kind of felt that together we kind of had everything we needed for sort of to set up a really great sort of indie studio and really sort of work on super polished games.
Awesome. Dax, put on your marketing hat here for a second and explain Trials by Fire for all of us out there. How do you sort of encapsulate this title?
You got it. Here's my marketing hat going on. Trials of Fire is a turn-based narrative deck builder, and it's set within a dying Earth fantasy realm. And the entire game takes place within this massive book, this ancient mystical tome that we've created. And what we're saying with setting the game in a book is not that there's a story that's there to be read. What we're saying is every time the player opens the cover of that book, there's an adventure there that's waiting to be had.
Cool.
And the roguelike permadeath nature of the game means that every time you start a new adventure, every time you start a new run, the stakes are high and they only get higher. You begin by choosing a party of 3 heroes, selecting and customizing your party. And then as you head off on that adventure, those high stakes really are defined and shaped by the narrative and the tactical decisions that you make as the player on every single run. So we really wanted each run to be sort of between 2 to 3.5 hours, as Adam said, kind of short gameplay pieces, but each one being entirely unique and each one being entirely driven by player choice and decision, both narratively and tactically in combat.
That's awesome. Adam, is there a lot of procedurally generated content, so, much like a roguelike? Is it a different, kind of landscape or a different setting every time you open the book?
Yeah, so we have a world that we call semi-procedural. So we kind of have a fixed geometry, that we've kind of worked with our artists to make something that kind of makes sense and looks really cool. But on every run, kind of the place you start, the destination, kind of the points of interest along the way are all sort of procedurally set up. So that, again, it's semi-random, making sure there's kind of enough stuff for you to do along the way. So every run will be unique, but as you play, you'll kind of come to recognize certain areas, even if you're passing through in a different direction. You'll kind of hopefully build up a sense of the geography of this landscape as well over multiple playthroughs.
Do you lose all your stuff, or are you able to keep some of the loot that you've acquired on previous runs?
You don't keep any loot that you've acquired, but as you play through, you unlock new classes, new skills, lots of new options to play, new crafting recipes that you can kind of take back to the next run. So if you find piece of equipment you really liked on one run, you've kind of banked that recipe for future runs. So again, you don't kind of keep progress, but kind of you're unlocking more and more stuff to kind of go into each run with.
That's cool. How do you go about designing a game like this? These kinds of turn-based and card-based and strategic sort of oriented titles to me always seem like you labor for months and months and years on with pen and paper before you even start going into the video game realm. Describe sort of the development process for me.
Well, for me, I mean, one thing that has kind of really sort of defined kind of how I worked at Rocksteady and on Trials of Fire is kind of really just diving straight in and getting stuff working, not on pen and paper, actually, just on the computer. We were using Unreal Engine, so I was able to kind of almost as soon as we left Rocksteady, just get something up and running really quickly. Stick in a sort of rudimentary AI, so we test it over and over again, play it, refine it. So kind of, as I said, I had a sort of a strong initial idea of how I wanted it to work, but that kind of really developed over sort of lots of iterations, a lot of testing, lots of getting people to play it. As I said, when we first met up, it was kind of 2 or 3 months in development. Would actually say, or test, it was looking pretty ropey, but a lot of the core of the gameplay was already there very early on. I think that's really the way to go forward.
Well, this is
the thing that really struck me. Vic, sorry, when Adam and I met up, we were near his place, and we went to his local pub and we had a few pints, and then I was like, okay, pitch me the game. He's like, I'm not going to pitch it. You can play it. I'll just send you the build. So I went home and he sent me the build. And, like all prototype games, it wasn't about how it looks, it was about how it played. And right from day one, the quality of the gameplay was just crystal clear for me to see. And that's what just got me so excited about the idea of us collaborating on something that had such high quality right from the start. And that's been our commitment as a studio is, we bring that AAA gameplay polish that we know so well from our years and years working on big AAA titles. We bring that same attitude to the indie space. And even though the game's only been out for 7 weeks now, the feedback we're getting from the community on Discord or the Steam forums really speaks to that commitment to quality that's really shining through in the game.
Well, that is a brand new sort of element to be introduced here. You guys are used to creating lots and lots of buzz and tailoring the marketing specifically for when you tease out little bits and pieces of reveals, and you just sort of send out little morsels.
That for everyone.
Well, we just the anticipation builds and builds, for a Batman game. That we're still waiting to hear if Rocksteady's ever going to make one of those for us, but it sounds like they're not. But with this game, you're like, play it. It's an early access. Go ahead, jump in. Let's see. And you're evolving it. And is that a weird thing for you guys to wrap your head around, or is this something that you're embracing? Are you big, supporters and proponents of early access titles? Were you supporting other indie titles that were doing something similar, or is this freaking you guys out?
Yeah, it's kind of been, it has been quite a shift, but it's been really exciting, just as Dex said, sort of getting people playing the game over the last 6 or 7 weeks. We kind of had so much feedback, people sort of playing the game, telling us what they like, some things they don't like, and I think the game has kind of really evolved in that time. And I actually find it really nice to have that kind of direct input and feedback with the community that we didn't have so much at Rocksteady. We kind of sort of labor away in a bunker for 2 to 4 years, and then sort of throw something out there and obviously pray that people liked it. But it's very different now, and I'm really kind of enjoying that, sort of sitting there working directly with the community, sort of talking to people, trying to sort of dig in, find out what they like, and if there's stuff they want to see changes, just trying to get to the bottom of that. So yeah, I think it's been quite a shift to the way I'm used to working, at least, but I'm really enjoying it.
Awesome.
And building relationships with streamers as well. That was something throughout the Arkham franchise. We were terrified about anything leaking, character reveals, any gameplay features, any screenshots. We were really paranoid about ensuring that nothing was spoiled for players when we released on that, that day one, that it was all fresh.
Sure.
Whereas now in early access, we're looking forward to a full launch, April next year-ish is sort of where we're targeting, maybe a little bit later than that, but in that zone. But here we are in early access, talking to streamers, talking to content creators, giving them whatever they need in order to play the game, share the game, provide feedback to us directly and to the people who form their audience. And that, to me, is a real crazy shift from being very secretive about your development to now being incredibly open and incredibly sort of generous where you can, because you just want as many people as possible to see the game the way that you see it. And streaming has really changed that entire dynamic for PR, marketing, community management. It's a completely different ballgame now.
Well, I know from interviewing you many times over the years, you always had felt kind of buttoned up. You had to be very restrained in how much you could tell us, and I think you maybe let a few things slip.
I'm free now, Vic. I'm free.
But what's cool is, as we're conducting this interview, this is kind of a great snapshot of what Whatboy Games is, isn't it? Because you don't work together in the same office, in the same studio, which is also new, because at Rocksteady you were all in the same facility. But now I guess you work together virtually, and then there are other contributors that are also virtually adding things in. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. So Dax and I, we both work remotely. We're the only sort of 2 full-time devs at Whatboy, but we use a lot of friends, a lot of people we used to work with in the industry. We got sort of great contacts from Rocksteady and people we know, so we're working with people who've kind of gone on from AAA development, working freelance, people we know kind of really understand that quality level we're looking for. And we can sort of throw stuff at them and kind of expect really good results back. We don't have to kind of worry about too much about sort of interviewing, finding the right people, because we know so many great people who've kind of moved on to freelance. So we've been sort of we're working with about seven or eight people sort of on and off to sort of produce a lot of the art assets, audio assets, animations in the game. So yeah, it's very different. We're all working remotely in our bedrooms, sort of communicating on Slack and Skype. Um, but yeah, the plan is kind of going forward to build Whatboy into a studio. Once we kind of got a game under our belt, we've got some fan base, some money coming in to sort of really sort of start building that studio.
That's
keeping
cool.
it sort of
Where
really,
where would you guys be based ideally? Are you, because you're in Wales
yeah.
right now, right? And you're in Brighton. They're pretty far apart in the UK. There's a lot of geography.
Well, no, I'm not in Wales. I'm in Surrey, which is south of London. But
Oh, okay.
it's all right. So
Okay.
it's actually quite easy to get from one to the other. We've had quite a few discussions of where we set up. We haven't settled on anywhere yet, but
If you draw a line between the two and put a dart in the midpoint, you end up in Croydon, which
or Gatwick.
yeah, which isn't the sexiest part of the UK. So I don't know, maybe Vancouver. I don't know. I hear
Vancouver would
it's
be
nice
rad.
there, Vic.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome out here. It's not cheap though.
Okay.
It's
I bet
not.
it's cheaper than London.
I don't know. I think it might actually be a little less expensive to set up in the UK right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
who knows? Who knows? How big do you guys want to make Whatboy Entertainment?
So the ultimate plan is to sort of make it not kind of go sort of full AAA, sort of really focus on what Dex likes to call triple I. So focus on sort of keep the team small, eventually go up to sort of 30 to 40 people, just really focusing on sort of smaller games, sort of building on our strengths, working on games that are much more sort of gameplay focused. So procedural content, repeatable gameplay, that kind of stuff.
Is that something that we could say is a bit of a trend in AAA? Is that once you've hit a few of these marks, it does start to feel a little exhausting? And are you starting to see a lot of colleagues kind of make a shift like this and try to move over into the indie space?
I think you would have seen yourself, Vic, having visited so many big AAA teams, big publishers over the years. I mean, you have been doing this longer than anyone I know,
Yep.
and are one of the best connected people in the industry. So you've seen those 300, 400, 500 dev studios.
Yep.
And having, when you work in that environment, it's incredible what you can get done with 300 people all pulling in the same direction. But the sheer management of a team of that size and keeping focus and kind of creative dedication over a long period of time, 3, 4, 5 years in most cases, there's something about the idea of breaking away from all of that and working quickly, working with people you know and love and trust, having pretty complete creative control over the work that you're making, and then being able to build those relationships with community and streamers and other people in the industry. It's a very, very attractive place to go. But once you're there, like we are, there's a whole new range of factors in terms of running a company, running a studio, pitching your game, establishing funding, going to E3 and having to pay for your own flights, all of that stuff.
All the fun stuff.
All the fun stuff is the reality of running a studio. And so you've sort of got to take the rough with the smooth like that. But I've never been happier than I am right now working in such a kind of close environment with people that I just know and love and who I know make great work, and keeping it small and keeping it focused. So even as Whatboy grows, that's really the essence for us is how do we maintain a culture to the studio that gives us those things that we left AAA for.
Right. And I think part of the joy of veterans like yourself is that you were there as the studio was sort of, finding its way and becoming a bigger studio. You saw it grow from smaller to bigger. And I think what a lot of people don't understand on the playing side of making video games, that the building of a company is part of the engagement of it all and part of the attraction for it. It's not just finishing a game and shipping it. It's growing a business and watching it do well. And is this the first company that you guys have gone off to kind of create on your own?
Yes, it was for me, I think.
I set up a creative agency before I joined Rocksteady.
Yep.
That was focused on making trailers and doing sort of marketing assets and collateral. So I did that for about 6 or 8 months. And then the guys at Rocksteady reached out to me and said, look, we've just been acquired by Warner Brothers. Do you want to come and join and sort of do a similar role within the Rocksteady Studios? So that was kind of the job interview, like the CV that I had running a company got me the job at Rocksteady, and now through that, having met Adam and then setting up Whatboy, kind of feels like there's a nice sort of circular destiny to that.
Yeah, there's a real understanding there. When I see the game too, it looks so polished already, and it does feel like a lot of veterans are working on this. Is that going to be the way that Whatboy kind of evolves? Are you going to be looking to bring in just people that have come from AAA that want to try something different, or are you also kind of opening the idea to people that are just coming out of schools, like the one that we're broadcasting out of here, the Vancouver Film School? Are you guys going to have a lot of younger people joining your teams as well?
I mean, I imagine it's going to end up being. I mean, if everything goes to plan, it's going to end up being a mixture of both. I mean, we know sort of great people that we want to work with, but we understand that there's kind of a lot of benefit in kind of getting sort of people who are very young, very passionate. Like we have one of our main artists. He feels like he's about 7, but he's probably a bit older than that. And he's just amazingly passionate. A guy called Max. And I think, we're kind of hoping to sort of strike a nice balance of kind of hiring on people like us who've kind of been through sort of the AAA mindset, who kind of understand kind of what it means to make a polished game, but also sort of, as you say, give opportunities to people sort of young and enthusiastic, getting in fresh ideas, that kind of thing.
That's awesome. I'm curious about the way that Trials of Fire is going to be monetized. Is it one and done? You pay for it and you get the whole thing, or are you thinking of a whole microtransaction strategy or anything like that? What are you guys doing that way?
Life is complicated enough, Vic. I think when it comes to games, you just pay a price and have the game.
Yeah.
That, for us, is the way to most honor the authenticity and the attitude that we have towards players who want to play the games that we make. It's so easy to get tied in knots with microtransactions and payments and this and that, and there's so much bad PR that gets kicked up with that prevents us or prevents developers from being able to focus on the things I want to talk about, which is the core gameplay systems and the gameplay experience that they've created. So my attitude is we just keep it simple, and that way we can focus on making a great game. If the price is right for gamers when they are considering the game, then I hope that they buy it. If not, then no worries. But this whole idea of building a game to serve a very complex business model, man, life is too short for that. We're just not interested in that.
Hear, hear, man. Is that a philosophy at Whatboy? Is that sort of part of the mission statement for the company?
I mean, what we want to do is really sort of build a great relationship with our community. So for Trials of Fire, it's kind of one and done. Hopefully, if things go well, we'll release some DLC post-launch. But again, that'll be focused on a sort of really new gameplay stuff, new characters, new stories, that kind of thing. So making sure people feel that they're kind of getting value for their money. I mean, going forward, we want to keep that philosophy. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the plan going in future games. But of course that may change depending on kind of the kind of game we make and what kind of makes sense for that game.
That's awesome. Now, Trials of Fire is billed as a single-player experience, but it's a strategy. There's definitely big strategic components in the gameplay. Is there a multiplayer skew of this, or a future update that will give people the opportunity to play against each other? It looks like it should be a multiplayer game, but I know you guys are focusing on a single-player experience.
The game is single-player.
Okay.
Only.
Okay. Very cool. And so people can check the game out right now. It's in early access on Steam. Is it going to be on any other stores out there?
We're on early access on Steam at the moment. We're kind of looking to other options down the track, but right now, our focus is on just betting in that early access period and kind of getting our feet on the table, really. So the early access will probably go through till kind of February, March next year.
Yep.
And then we'll really take a view at that point how we proceed with launch and what other platforms we're kind of looking at. But
yes, the plan is at full launch to kind of release on as many platforms as makes sense.
Awesome. And is there a potential for consoles? Is it something that could be on a Switch or on PlayStation or Xbox?
Absolutely. I mean, we've always planned post full release. We'd love to launch on kind of Switch, Xbox, tablet. So all those things I think would be a great fit for the game. But for the moment, we're just kind of focused on that PC early access, getting that to a state where we think it's finished, and then we're going to look at other platforms.
That is awesome. Guys, let's definitely get together again as we're getting a little bit closer to launch, and maybe it'll be something that we can do in person at some event or something, because I know that this story for Whatboy is just beginning, but thank you both for making some time to meet with me today, and congratulations on the launch of this game, and much success to both of you guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Vic. Thanks for your time today.
Of course, and also big thanks for all of your contributions to my favorite game trilogy in the Batman Arkham games. You guys know how much I freaking adore those games, so thank you both.
Thank you.
All right.
Our pleasure.
All right, take care.